All right, let's work on this next affix called Eepa. Now, Eepa is a combination of two affixes together, right? It's E and Pa, right? So we get the E prefix and the Pa prefix, and we get Eepa, right? And this is just a combination of the two. So what were E and what were Pa again? So E was, again, ditransitive verbs in the imperative form. So the imperative form of ditransitive verbs. But remember how it's the version of the imperative form in the object focus with ditransitivity. And I will explain this a little more in this video because on the beginning series, I briefly touched on it. Pa, as you know, with this intermediate series, you've seen the video Pa with causality, right? So if we get a command form or imperative form of ditransitive verbs with causality, we get Eepa, which is a command form of ditransitive causalities, right? So just combine the two definitions and you get this wonderful affix called Eepa. Let's talk about transitivity, though. Transitivity, or I guess ditransitivity, sorry. So ditransitivity. Transitivity is when a verb can take an object. Ditransitivity is when a verb can take two or more objects, right? So just more than just one object. Usually it's a verb that has a direct or indirect object together, or a primary and a secondary object, something like that, right? But it can take multiple things with it, not just one, but more than one object with it. And hence, E is used. Now, the on ending, remember we talked about that, the on, and I think the an ending were only for transitives. But again, since language evolves, E can take kind of both of those definitions. And that's just back in the beginning series if you forgot. So with the E, again, ditransitive verbs, right? Since E is an imperative, right? And when we want to negate it, right? Because again, we can negate commands, we can negate imperatives. And how do we do that? Well, since it's an imperative, we have to use the negative for the imperatives, and that's ayaw, right? So we negate this using ayaw. All right, but if we don't want to negate it, we just use Eepa, right? And again, E is just, when you hear that E in the beginning, is just going to indicate that, oh, okay, it's some sort of command, some sort of imperative that someone needs to do something with the causality definition, or with a causality purpose, or a causal purpose. There you go, right? So, and here's the example of negating it, is the ayaw Eepa, whatever verb can affixate to that, right? And it's usually going to be a ditransitive verb that will affixate to it. What are some of these examples of ditransitive verbs? Well, here on the bottom, I wrote 3 sentences that can kind of help you understand what how this affix works, right? So the first one is unsay ipakaon sa mga itik, right? Unsay ipakaon sa mga itik, right? Consequently, itik can also be used for pato. Pato is just a general word for ducks. Itik is more like a specific kind of duck. I think it's more of like a lighter color, like a white one, or some, I don't know, beige, or some sort of white colored duck, probably bigger in size. But itik is a type of duck. Maybe it's like a swan or something, right? Unsay ipakaon sa mga itik, right? What do ducks feed on, or what's the food for ducks? I guess you can say this. Unsay ipakaon sa mga itik? What do we feed ducks, or what do you feed ducks? Unsay ipakaon nila, right? Second sentence, ipauli ang mga papeles sa tagsa-tagsa, right? So return the papers to each and every one, right? And this is what I'm talking about. This is a good example, actually, of a ditransitive verb. I just saw this one. So ipauli ang mga papeles, here's the first object, ang mga papeles, right? And it's our first object. The second object is sa tagsa-tagsa, okay? That's what I mean by ditransitive, right? Because this verb uli, to go home or to return home, or to return something somewhere to where it's to return to a place of origin. Yeah, so in this case, return the papers to each and everyone, right? So here's, because this verb is ditransitive, uli, because you can return something to somewhere or to someone, right? And this is what we mean. We're returning object one, or we are returning object one to object two, right? I think that's how it is, or maybe the other way around, right? Oh no, here it is. Yeah, we are returning. It is the other way around. We are returning object one to object two, right? We are returning the primary object to the secondary object. Ipauli ang mga papeles, the first object, sa tagsa-tagsa to each and every one. So return the papers to each and every one. That is actually a good example of a ditransitive verb sentence. And the last one is, I guess, another example, okay? Again, it's negating it. Look, see, ayaw ipagamit ang imong utog sa laing tao, right? Don't use your head to other people, or to other people, yeah? So don't use your head to other people. And these are just random sentences, but you can see how we can negate it with ayaw, again, because it's an imperative, so we have to use the ayaw negator, as I talked about in the negating series or negative series, and we talked about Eepa uli having ditransitivity. So hopefully this Eepa affix can help you. Again, it's one of those affixes that only attaches to certain verbs because certain verbs take certain affixes that are specific to them. And in this case, it's that ditransitivity, okay?